Up and at 'em on a Thursday morning. Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen, as we roll through the week, roll through the end of May. We've done a poor job, Preston, really, my responsibility, of keeping you updated. 94 days.
That's right.
94 days until they will kick a football off in Atlanta, in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, South Carolina, and Virginia Tech. And I think last year we started about 132 days and whittled our way down, but I think I've got to make more of an effort each and every morning to get up and remind everybody 94 days, because it feels like once you get past this, once you get past May, the countdown becomes for real.
Well, anything inside of 100. When you get inside of 100, that's when you start feeling like, okay, this is a real thing. Now we at 94. Then you start taking the weekends off. You start skipping by 2. Then you're at 89, and it's like, oh, my God, what are we doing? Next thing you know, we're at 50, and then 30, and then it's game day. So, yes, it feels a long way away now, and we're not trying to count your summer away. However, 94 days.
Let's see if I get this right. Because we used to do on this thing a number countdown. I believe the late, great Tommy Moody. Mm-hmm. What number were you again?
I was number 94.
Yeah, he was.
That's correct.
Yeah, he was.
Number 94.
Great Gamecocks that wore 94.
It's a small number.
It's not a number that many people remember, but Preston Thorne from Summerville, South Carolina.
Shout out to Matt Marsters. It's not a lot of us. It's a small fraternity. It's a small fraternity. The 94 Club. Yeah. It's a small fraternity because I didn't choose that number. They just gave it to you. And I was like, all right.
All of a sudden you walk. How does that work? You walk to the locker, or is there a sheet of paper that you look over and you're like, oh, okay, this is the number. All right, got it.
It all depends on your pecking order.
Okay.
The pecking order. Some people get to choose that number. Most of us don't.
There you go. And for those that are that might be wondering, the current number 94, junior college transfer Xavier Hardy, 6'5", 290 pounds. So that is 94 days away. And that also means we are about 93 days away, that's Saturday, from college football really getting underway. And that'll mean finally talking season will come to a conclusion. And that means Greg Sankey, who is just having so much fun in Destin, meeting with reporters, talking, offering his opinions, his feelings, kind of subtle shots at other people, Preston Thorne.
Greg's talking a lot, and everybody's around, and there's beautiful beach, and everybody's sitting around having Mai Tais and talking numbers and doing all types of stuff. So, yes, this is a very important time.
And that leads us to our most important things of the day.
Now on the early game, let's kick off the show with the MITs, the most important things on the game.
Well, we're trying to do math. We're trying to figure out how to get to 16. It's a complicated process, apparently. We're trying to figure out 8 games versus 9 games in the SEC. These are the things we do at the end of May for the SEC, Preston Thorne.
A lot of math today, kids. A lot of math today. We're going to be
thought you were
numbers.
Out of school.
That's right. That's right. We are going to be adding numbers up. We're going to be subtracting numbers. We're going to try to be figuring out the differences in numbers. We're going to be doing rankings, statistics, analytics. A lot of numbers today, because when the jocks get around, they have to talk about numbers.
It feels there's a level to this as I listened to Greg Sankey yesterday and thought back to what Greg Sankey said on Tuesday. A level of we're making this a little bit harder than it really needs to be, Preston. I feel like what's happening is they're throwing so much information at me. Well, we should do this. We should do that. Maybe we should try this formula. And yesterday, halfway through, I was like, is 5 plus 11 really 6? You know, you start questioning yourself. Is 2 plus 2 really 4? 4 plus 4 really 8? Is 5 plus 11? Wait, that's not round numbers.
Well, listen, man, I'm here for the 5 plus 11 model, which obviously gets us to 16, because our other option is the 4-4-2-2-1-3 model. What? Let me repeat that again. The 4-4-2-2-1-3 model. Hey, college football, know your who. I don't think many of your fans want to be running through the 4-4-2-2-1-3 model. That's not that's not
even though that gets us to 16 and that's too many. That sounds like a Tony Annan soccer formation that has come about there.
Yeah, know your who. We don't want to do that. 5 plus 11 is doable, but some of these other things I see floating around, let's not do that.
So we'll see. The SEC now taking a larger interest in this. We'll talk more about that. The 5+11 model with their own ability to earn those berths is something that Greg Sankey said at the conclusion of yesterday's spring meetings.
Here's the good news. If last year we were in the 5+11 model,
Very true.
hey, we would have been there.
We'd have been playing. We'd have been playing not in a bowl game.
We would have been there.
No opt-outs in that situation, hopefully. But that's part of it. Also yesterday, all right, the SEC, all of a sudden, you got Greg Sankey kind of banging his chest, but you got SEC coaches yesterday kind of looking around going, hey, Big Ten, we want some of you. Come on down to – we're going to come up to your block and try and give you a noogie. SEC coaches yesterday kind of coming out saying, yeah, we kind of want to have a one-on-one game each year against the Big Ten.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's the directive. Everybody's in the meetings saying, let's go out there and challenge the Big Ten.
I don't think everybody was. Shane Beamer's comment was a little more like, yeah, I was told to say that I want to do this, but I'm looking at my schedule thinking, I don't know about this.
Well, granted, that's the point you brought up yesterday. Shane Beamer looks at his out-of-conference schedule and sees the preseason #1 ranked team. LSU looks at their schedule and sees Lafayette Tech. So, there's a big difference. Or a lot of some of these other schools. Yes, there is a difference between how these schedules work out.
Yeah, with South Carolina every year playing playing Clemson, LSU just getting Clemson for the next 2 years, but also having 3 other non-conference games, as you just pointed out, to schedule, or at least right now 3. That's all part of the conversation today when you talk about math. SEC now trying to figure out 8-game conference schedule, and I did like that Greg Sankey yesterday said, we might get the answer to that today. That when he meets with the media members today, you're right by the pool, lounging out, kind of like he's Joe Cool. He might reveal, hey, we're going to a 9-game conference schedule. We're staying at 8.
Yeah, the Big Ten is looking at them and saying, hey, y'all need to go to 9. We play 9. Why don't y'all play 9? And the SEC saying, well, our 8 are stronger than your 9 because we're better.
Yeah. Well, but you even had, was it Kirby Smart yesterday said they've won the last 2 national championships. It's time for us to go up and knock them off a little bit.
He didn't mean that, though. He didn't mean deep in his heart, Kirby, Mr. SEC, he didn't mean that.
Well, the SEC yesterday.
He was playing poor just now.
Well, we will, as he said, well, again, there's what we were talking about pre-show, crying from a yacht. It's hard to do, but Kirby Smart made his best efforts. We'll talk more about that as we go through the show. A lot to get into as to what was said yesterday as it pertains to, again, the future of the college football playoff, the future of the SEC scheduling, and even the potential for a kind of an SEC Big Ten showdown where all teams get matched up and you play one non-conference game against the Big Ten versus SEC, so forth and so on. So that's our most important things of the day, and we'll get to a lot more of that. Playoffs last night, well, that was a fun run while it lasted. The Panthers smoke once again. Now, in this game, the Hurricanes get up 2-0. Mm-hmm. I'm watching out on the porch, having a nice evening, beautiful evening actually, and I'm thinking, are we going to get this to 3-2? Are the Hurricanes going to kind of get back into this thing? I literally went inside, fixed a pizza, come back out, and it was 2-2. It happened quickly.
Yeah, I will not feign like I know what I'm talking about. I just feel like if I say, man, Bobrovsky, he was on fire, that could pass for some knowledge.
That's good enough, yeah. Hey, and you got Sergei Bobrovsky. See, I can't get it, and I'll watch the match.
Bobrovsky,
the game.
He's tough.
Florida Panthers back to the NHL Finals. They're the defending champs. And so yesterday, the celebration, as they said, business as usual. We'll see who exactly they get, Dallas and Edmonton tonight.
Well, if it's Edmonton, it's a rematch.
Right.
And that'd be really cool. Again, Connor McDavid is the best player, nationally recognized as the best player in the league. So that would be really cool. So there you have a little bit of a repeat, a rivalry. That might be fun. And
Edmonton, by the way, they're fun to watch. They're really, really, really fast on the ice. They haven't had the best. They didn't have, for what their standards were expected to be, didn't have the best year, but they've now kind of played up to their standards. They had a good finish to the season in April and have kind of turned things up a little bit. And that game will be at 8 o'clock tonight on ESPN. NBA, I feel like we kind of saw this coming. I thought the series would be better. Oklahoma City, though, does kind of what I expected. The series, I thought it would be better, but I thought I thought it would go longer. I'm sorry. I should say I thought it would go longer. I didn't think the games, I remember us having this discussion that I felt like the Oklahoma City, Minnesota series would just be a bunch of blowouts, but it would kind of alternate between the two, and they'd get to game 6 and maybe a game 7.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you play one of the greatest teams to ever don an NBA uniform in the OKC Thunder, the current iteration of the OKC Thunder.
Be careful. Remember, you got to defend Tyrese Halliburton. You can't.
Oh yes.
Don't go too far with your OKC love. We got to spend the next week and a half probably with you telling me how great Halliburton and the Pacers are, and how he is now the budding star of the NBA.
Bill, this is what you're missing. I'm building OKC up as one of the greatest teams ever.
Oh, okay.
So that when Halliburton comes through and destroys a generational talent like SGA and the MVP, it only raises up his legend. So that's what we're working with here. So OKC, one of the greatest generational teams ever, 62 wins in the regular season, very close to some of those big numbers that we hear about. A great team. We'll see how they fare once my guys get to the finals.
Yeah, Oklahoma City last night absolutely demolishes Minnesota again, 124-94 in that contest. Knicks and Pacers tonight with old Tyrese looking to close things out. Interesting note on this, should the Pacers close it out, you get the Pacers and the Thunder. They would have a full week off. Both teams play. The finals don't get started until next Thursday, June the 5th.
Yeah, I mean, you have to build in the idea that these early series could go 7, and when you hit them with the gentleman's sweep, that gives you time to rest, which is better for the whole finals product because the players get a chance to rest a little bit, recuperate, and bring their best performances to the finals.
So that is a combination of your most important things, a combination of the playoffs from last night, NHL again, the Hurricanes, my Hurricanes. We're gonna have to reevaluate here. We're really good. We're just not quite good enough to get over the hump.
This is a tough spot to be as a fan.
Yeah.
Because now you're starting to get frustrated. You're there. Conference finals are not going to be good enough for you anymore. You're a little bit spoiled. And unfortunately, the team that's in front of you feels like they're in the middle of a pretty strong run.
Yeah, they and the Florida Panthers again looking for back-to-back. So we got all of that to line up this morning. But again, Greg Sankey speaking yesterday. We will get back into what he had to say as it pertains to the 5+11 model and the importance of the SEC championship. Ross Dellinger talking a little bit about that yesterday, and we will discuss some of that as well. 803-404-6100. That's how you can join us and weigh in this morning if you want to do so. Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It is the early game.
Love Chevy.
Bill Gunner for Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison, between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park, where even though we're wrapping up the month of May, those deals are in full bloom. The inventory still overflowing on the 14 acres of brand new Chevys from which you can choose from. Exclusive specials on Suburbans, Tahoes, Silverados, the entire lineup of award-winning Chevys right now. You just need to get out to Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison, between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. Walk around that 14 acres of brand new Chevys, talk with that phenomenal sales staff, and find out why they have been the hometown Chevy dealer since 1961. That's right, 1961, Love Chevrolet came into town, and they have taken care of customers just like you and me ever since. So get out to your trusted hometown Chevy dealer, Love Chevrolet, again, I-26 in Harbison, between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. Go visit Love Chevrolet today, and together, let's drive.
No accidents to report right now, so good news in that respect. No significant slowdowns as of this time this morning. And we could see some afternoon thunderstorms, some potentially heavy today. 85 will be our overall high. Tomorrow, looking for some evening storms. And again, the potential for those to be a little bit heavy with heavy downpours and heavy winds. 84 also for the high. And Saturday, it all clears out. Saturday, 84, 85 on Sunday, 87 on Monday. Once we get through tomorrow, no rain in the forecast for a few days. Right now, 67 on 107.5 The Game.
The coaches actually today talked with me about that importance. And they talked about, I'll call it a 5-11 model a lot with me. And our own ability to earn those berths. So we like yesterday, I don't think there was a lot of belief that we were interested in looking at models. Today, I think represented exactly what I share. And we have had conversations today about the meaning of a conference championship still being retained. So I thought those were good things. And yesterday when I was asked, I said, look, doing away with that's not like anywhere near the top of my agenda with the issues we have.
Those are the words of Greg Sankey from yesterday, who is now holding media sessions basically after every day because Greg Sankey needs to get words out there. And Preston, let's start with the mod. I like that. I'd just like to know, like, is all of them sitting around in chairs, and he's got just big cards that he holds up? It's like, no, this is one model. This is the 5+11, everybody. Or
everybody count to 5.
Or actually, I shouldn't say it that way. Does he have the old school? What was the projector? Not the projector. What's the item?
Overhead projector.
Overhead projector. The big
with the transparency.
Yeah, the transparency that you used a marker on. And yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
The big pointer that, extended the like telescope,
Yes.
so he could point.
Yes.
And all the students are in there going,
Count to 5.
Okay, but just tell me, do they at least get some mimeograph paper? That's the purple stuff that had the really good smell. Yeah.
And with this, we're in school. We're trying to figure out numbers, a lot of them. And Greg Sankey's up at the front of the board. Okay, hey, how can you make 5? 3 + 2. All right, this is 11.
So the first thing to address in this is what is exactly the 5+11 model. That would be, again, the 4 conference champions and the highest rated non-Power 4 team. This past year it was Boise State. Then it's just as simple as we're taking the next 11 teams. It doesn't matter what conference you're from. My question to you, Preston, on this is, does Greg Sankey see that as being like, we're going to basically get 5 of those spots every year to have 6 teams in the college football playoff? Is that what they're thinking? We will be good enough and we will change our formula for scheduling or whatever we got to do that basically guarantees us your conference champion that would get the automatic bid, and we're so good we're going to have 5 other teams somehow, some way in this college football playoff.
I think that's the gamble. That's the bet, is that they're betting on the strength of schedules. They're betting on the conference. They're betting on these teams being good enough so that when the rankings do come out, that they're going to have those next best ranked teams. If they were to make that gamble last year, yes, they would have gotten 5 teams: Texas, Tennessee, Alabama, Ole Miss, and South Carolina. So they would have got 5. Big Ten would have got 3, the ACC would have got 2, and then Notre Dame was in also. So that makes your 11 plus your 5, right? So we're doing a lot of numbers here. But yes, the gamble is that you will be that strong every year.
Yeah, and that too, as we go through that point, the point of that is, I think we went back and did some of the numbers yesterday. The SEC typically has, I think, averages out to about 5. Some years it's 6, 1 or 2 years it's 4. It's a little bit closer to 6 if you would actually do the actual average of it. But to your point, again, last year, the final college football playoff ranking, South Carolina found themselves at 15. that would have probably had them up there against Georgia in terms of, if I'm assuming, who knows exactly how they would have maybe changed it around, but South Carolina would play Georgia, because one part about this that we really haven't gotten to is buys, double buys, triple buys. Everybody gets a buy. Who knows what exactly they're going to do with that. Also, the discussion of moving up the college football playoff to the week of the Army-Navy game, which I'm sure Army-Navy would kind of be like, well, all right, wait a second, how are we going to handle our game? Because just in case, in the event that Army, I think it would have been Army last year, would have been able to slip, and Army finished 22nd in the college football playoff rankings, the final one. But that's also part of this. But you go to the 5-11, and to me, that's exactly what it is. I think the SEC almost looked at, we're getting 4 automatic qualifiers. Nope, that's not enough for us. We're going to need a few more.
Right, we want more.
Right.
So the four automatics, 4 autos are cool, but why would we take 4 autos when there's possibly more for us to have?
We could possibly get 6 or even 7.
Right, if there was a good year or something along those lines happens. So, yeah, that's why they're saying, nah, you can keep your autos. We'll just play our way in. We'll take our chances on having enough teams that we can get more in there. And the Big Ten's like, no, we want the autos. We want 4 because they're not guaranteed to get that many. So, but everybody's jockeying for their position, trying to figure out what's best for their interest, and that's the inherent conflict of this thing. Nobody's working towards the greater good. Everybody's working for their own good, and that's going to be the conflict that they'll have.
Yeah, to your point, the Big Ten would have had 4 teams in there last year. As you said, Oregon obviously would have been the conference champion, Penn State, Ohio State, and Indiana. And then you really start going through the rest, and there's not another Big Ten team until you get to Illinois at 20.
Hey, man, listen, if you missed a couple weeks ago, Illinois is on a run right now. Brett Bielema's, the recruiting's gone up. The NIL coffers are full. And apparently getting a win over an SEC school in a bowl game has done a lot for that program. So they are poised to make a run.
I said this, there are certain times bowl games do mean something, not really for your current season, but maybe as a little bit of a springboard for your next season. And Illinois is kind of proving that. South Carolina losing the game hasn't shut down any of the hype or pomp circumstances for Lenora Sellers and for what the Gamecocks could be, as we've seen him ranked as high as 7, I believe, and obviously Lenora Sellers, I've seen him as high as I think 3 or 4 in mock 2026 NFL drafts. But Preston, kind of back to that point, the SEC is going to push this one through, right? They're gonna kind of pull the Big Ten aside and be like, look, just here's a few tweaks. You're guaranteed to get 5 too, and maybe you get 6 too, and we have 6 and 6, and everybody else, the Big 10, or excuse me, the Big 12 and the ACC only get 3, and then we give that other qualifier to the highest rated non-Power 5, non-Power 4 team.
Yeah, the cute kid from the kiddie table, right? And still, and you still have Notre Dame who's sitting out there like, hey, we're not in a conference. What do we get? We can't get an automatic qualifier because we're not in a conference, so we're going to have to play our way into that spot.
I say, too bad, so sad. I'm kind of to that point.
Well, it works
Exactly.
this works for them. This model is actually better for them than anything else. And the reason I say that is because of the fact that all they got to do is be in the top 16. Mm-hmm. And quite frankly, the way their schedule is kind of starting to shift and shake out, it's going to be hard for them they're going to have to be pretty bad to not be in the top 16, because there is going to be a Notre Dame bias, in my opinion, with when you're still talking about humans trying to do this playoff committee where, Notre Dame gold helmets. One of the television executives is elbowing one of the committee members. They're like, hey, we like Notre Dame on TV. Make sure they're at least in the top 16. I think Notre Dame wins in this situation.
That's what I'm afraid of.
They would never get. Again, part of this is how you go about drawing up the bracket and what buys you get, or how I saw the other day talking about maybe double buys and things of that nature. Notre Dame would never get a buy, to my knowledge, depending on again how a lot of this comes out. But yeah, I would almost say that Notre Dame would be in the playoffs 4 out of every, with Marcus Freeman, who appears to be a very good coach. Now, he could run off to the NFL and come to the Bears at some point, but I feel like with Marcus Freeman, Notre Dame is going to be in the playoff about 4 out of every 5 years. So 80% of the time you're going to see them in the playoff.
And I mean, I guess that's fair, because I do kind of like the fact that it doesn't have to just be you coming out of a conference. Like the ranking thing, I am kind of a fan of a little bit. So I don't know.
It's the numbers again. Mm-hmm. 5 plus 11. We got to keep repeating this. 5 automatic qualifiers, 11 at large bids. That gets us to 16, which is somehow become the magic number. We just skipped past 12. We didn't even approve this 16-team playoff yet, but they're like, yeah, that's going to happen.
Oh, no, no. Greg Sankey's looking around like, that's happening. I don't know whether you want it or not, but it's happening. That's gonna take place. So 803-404-6100. We'll continue talking about this coming up next. Hey, look at that. Jeremiah Donati spoke yesterday. You know what he didn't speak about? Baseball. But he did talk about agents and NIL. He was on the Paul Feinbaum Show. We'll let you listen to Jeremiah Donati from the Paul Feinbaum Show yesterday about agents and NIL. You're listening to the early game.
Present here for Cato's Power Equipment. Cato's Power Equipment has been family-owned and serving the Midlands since 1983. That's over 40 years. And third-generation owner Ben Cato provides top-notch service, great deals, and the mom-and-pop values that you love. Ben is determined to raise the standard of sales, service, and retail. At Cato's, they are proud to offer a wide selection of new and pre-owned mowers, tractors, and more. So if you're ready to invest in something new, our friendly team is there to make the process easy, help you choose the right equipment, find financing options, and keep your gear running strong with expert service and parts. Whether you're a weekend warrior or a seasoned landscaping pro, Cato has you covered. So swing by Cato's Power Equipment today or call them at 803-254-3711. That's Cato's Power Equipment at 803-254-3711.
Still looking pretty good on the highways. Don't have any accidents mentioned at this time. Awesome news there. And your forecast, going to be kind of cloudy today. Some afternoon storms possible. 85 for the high. Tomorrow afternoon, we could see some potentially heavy thunderstorms, but high of 84 as well. And for the weekend, sunny, mix of clouds and sun, actually. 84 on Saturday, 85 on Sunday, 87 on Monday, and no rain in the forecast for the weekend, so good news there. But right now, it's overcast and 67 at 107.5 The Game.
Reminder, coming up after us today, the Schroeder's Towing Road Show, live from Firehouse Subs, 2184 West DeKalb Street in Camden. You can
DeKalb?
go. Is it DeKalb, right?
DeKalb, because there's an L in it. DeKalb.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There's actually I'm familiar with that. It's a brand of seed corn.
All of us showing our strengths right now.
Yeah,
English,
yeah.
not so much mine. Yours with the farming stuff. Perfect stuff.
There you go. Yeah.
Go
That's the only reason I'm familiar with the name.
DeKalb.
Yeah, there actually is a DeKalb, Illinois.
Okay.
So.
All right.
Well, see, this is where it gets tricky because
Like-
there's a DeKalb County in Georgia, and that's where
That's
it gets,
what I would've
that's where
gone
it
with.
gets
Just like
tricky.
and just like in Georgia, there's Albany, but there's Albany, New York. So
That's
yeah.
true. It's the Benny. That is
Yeah.
true. The Benny is in Georgia.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Continue on. We're towing the
Schroeder's-
107.5
Yeah.
truck. We're
Towing
towing it in.
Chris and Wes and Tyler and probably Jack, and they'll all be there. So go visit them down in Camden from 9 to 12 today. The Schroeder's Towing Roadshow rolling on there at Firehouse Subs. 803-404-6100. So let me ask you a question. I want you to think out loud for a second. If we just played random sound
I like this.
and we didn't tell you who we were playing, could you pick out Jeremiah Donati's voice out of a lineup?
I could not. I could not. And to be even more transparent, I think I have a strong idea what he looks like, but I'm not really sure.
I got to admit, by the image that I have, the only image I have is burned in is they put on Twitter way back when he first joined a picture of him having his first meeting with all the coaches, and he looked like a kind of a tech bro, if you will.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he looked-
100% finance guy.
Whereas for the last 13 years, we've seen Ray Tanner in a suit, addressing everybody. Suit, garnet tie, pretty standard for him.
Very old
Great.
school suit.
Great suit.
Yes, he wears a very good suit.
Yes.
Wears a very good suit. Is always it drapes well off of him. It hangs, fits his body well. Yes, a big difference.
So again, if because Preston brought this up and I started thinking about it, and I was like, yeah, I don't think we're gonna play some Jeremiah Donati for you. And we might have to play it twice. And the first time, you're just totally focused on the sound of the voice so we can learn what the athletic director at the University of South Carolina sounds like. Obviously, he is down in Destin at the spring meetings going through all the presentations. Maybe he's doing some math. But yesterday, he took time out to join Paul Feinbaum, and they discussed the current landscape of college football from NIL and dealing with agents. Here's South Carolina athletic director Jeremiah Donati yesterday on the Paul Feinbaum Show.
I realize that the big talk here in Destin is CFP format and conference scheduling, and those things, are obviously different being in one league to the next. But the issues we find ourselves in the Power 4 level are more or less the same. There's just different levels in which we're, competing and trying to find our path forward. But, really enjoyed my time here so far.
Finally, and a lot of these are involving your past, but as somebody who worked with one of the preeminent sports agents of all time at the highest level, when you now see on the other side these agents who are, and agents have a bad reputation as a general rule because they often do a lot of bad things, not people that work for legitimate firms. Is it helpful to can you see through very quickly what's going on that side?
You can, and one of the big things that I've been an advocate for or proponent thereof is having some national standard where we can do a better job regulating the agents, because candidly, when you're in the NFL, for example, you took up to 3% of players' contracts, and then marketing deals were separate, 10, 15, 20%. But what's happening now is these student athletes are being taken advantage of by agents who are not registered, they're not real agents, and their agents are charging them up to 20% just for their compensation contracts,
like television,
the rev share contracts, and so that's just taking advantage of these young people. That's not right, and so federal preemption would do a lot of things for us, but I think solving, having a national agency or agentry registry would be, or agent registry, excuse me, would be a small step, a small thing, but a big step to helping protect our student athletes.
That was one thing that we talked about with him when he was hired that I thought was really important, was his background, having worked kind of in the agent industry, if you will.
Yeah, it's sort of like when the hacker gets the job with the government, right? So we know all the secrets, and now you need to come work for us so that you can stop them. He used to be an agent. He knows all the ways, the loopholes, the deals, how to get a deal, how to turn people's arms, how to maneuver in the gray area. And now he's now he's the man. Now he's the guy that they used to be working against. So he knows all the tricks of the trade, and he's going to be able to maybe thwart some of the backhanded things that maybe some of these agents are doing. But also, agents have a bad rep, but agents do a job. Their job is to be the person to get you the money so that you don't have to have those conversations, so that they're go-between. And so they get a bad rap, but they're actually the people who get people money and do the job. And if they weren't needed, then they wouldn't be there.
If you're unaware, his background that we're discussing prior to being at TCU was working with the Lee Steinberg Sports and Entertainment Agency as general counsel and director of player representation. So it's probably not something 5 years ago we thought would be a great background or would be pivotal to having your athletic director be. It is now because of what he just talked about, and you heard him mention kind of being able to see through some of what's going on with NIL agents or with agents and what they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, but here's the problem, Bill, with a national agent registry. Let's all come together and make ourselves less money. When would that ever happen? All the agents going to get together and say, you know what? I think we should only have 3%. And the guys who's getting 20%, you're right. This isn't fair to these student athletes. That's never going to happen. So it's only going to take some sort of law to be put in place, because nobody's ever taking less money.
Well, I guess that's my question. I don't really know enough about being an agent and how that all works. I know you've got a
nobody does.
Well, yeah, it's a very gray area. What's the Stranger Things, the upside down or whatever? Like, we don't really know what's going on. Just know it doesn't seem good. But yeah, to that point, if I say the NCAA, but I don't know what the NCAA's bite is anymore. But if the NCAA were to invoke, all right, if you're going to represent a student athlete, you got to be registered under us, and here are the rules for that.
Good luck. I mean, there's not a governing body that can put that into place. That sounds good in theory. There for the NFL, there are folks that have to be registered, and you have to go through the process and all that stuff. But again, there's no governing body to put these rules and laws into play that affect everybody, because everybody's competing against each other. So that would be very, very difficult to do. And also, maybe a loophole of what he just said is that, yes, on the side in the NFL, the agents get 10 to 15, 20% of the players' marketing contracts. Well, as it currently stands, all of these players' deals right now in college football are quote-unquote marketing contracts. So who's to say? I don't know.
803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in. Coming up, Kirby Smart giving us first world problems, apparently. We'll let you listen to him, and we'll figure out what in the world he was talking about yesterday. He might have spent a little bit too much time on the beach and got a little bit too much sun. We'll figure out what Kirby Smart was trying to explain about crying from a yacht yesterday. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It is the early game. 6:50 on a Thursday morning, May the 29th, 94 days away from kickoff for South Carolina and Virginia Tech. If you're a Clemson fan listening this morning, 93 days away from Clemson LSU, 7:30 at Memorial Stadium on that Saturday night. If you want to really back it up, that would make it 80. Let's see, 93 minus 7, carry the 1, math, like we said.
He's taking his shoes off.
Yeah, there we go. All right, 86 days away from week 0 when we surprise the great people of Ireland with the well-known college football teams of Kansas State and Iowa State.
Yeah, we don't do well. Whoever's negotiating for Ireland needs to do a better job. We sent over our best offering of Nebraska and Northwestern for the first time. And we saw that we saw that worked, and we was like, all right, cool. They thought that was good. Let's just keep sending them whatever.
Nothing against Iowa State and Kansas State. I just like, all right, like you said, should we?
Actually, two pretty solid teams, to be honest, right? Two teams that will be in the mix more than likely. Kansas State always wins.
They're just not
10.
sexy.
Just not sexy teams. Iowa State had a good year last year.
I mean, quite frankly, if I just look at it, all I read is 16-13, 80% runs to 20% passes. I'm not saying that's correct. I'm just
Another Corn Bowl.
Yeah, there you go.
Also, I feel like fans that are traveling for Iowa State and Kansas State, bit of a culture shock when they get over to Ireland. So 803-404-6100. But that would be first world problems, right?
Yes.
If you're traveling to Ireland, it's a vacation. You're going to have a good time. Those are first world problems. You'll figure out the culture. Kirby Smart, let's listen to him yesterday. He is talking about talking about the transfer portal and how you can't cry from a yacht. Let's all decipher what Coach Smart was trying to say.
Well, I don't care if it's one or two, really. I mean, I'd prefer one, but I'm okay with two. What I don't want is one in June. I mean, in April, because I think that's a recipe for disaster, and that's what we're starting to get pushed by some outside conferences that feel strongly that it should be in April. And I'm like, well, what are we doing January, February, March, in April when I try to build my team? My team's not built. Like we don't know.
If I gave you the date to do it, you pick what day?
Coach, don't you have players kind of could hold you hostage at that point too?
Oh.
And they've already gotten a lot of it. It already happened.
Oh, by the way, we got to pay them the whole time.
Yeah.
Well, it's first I heard today that there was an idea of, well, instead of paying them those months, we wouldn't pay them. We would only pay them in the season, which is an NFL model, right?
Yeah, right.
You guys got paid, weekly by your games.
Right.
And I'm like, well, now we're talking about January, February, March, not paying them. They would just leave. They would just quit coming to meetings. If they were leaving, they would leave. Like, we need to get our team as quickly as possible. There's good and bad for both. Now, I don't want to act like it's lopsided because people feel like January you can't get them in school because everybody has a different academic calendar.
Right.
We've always had that problem. A lot of complaint, well, we played in the national championship game and we missed this opportunity to get the guys in the portal. Hey, I did too. 2 years.
Right.
Nobody said, well, that's not fair. You know what I mean? Like, that's part of crying from the yacht. You can't cry from the yacht.
My head hurts. That was a podcast, by the way. Obviously, a lot of voices involved in there. What's your thoughts on this real quick?
Hey, man, listen. Actually, my thought was, I wonder how Jeremiah Donati feels being part of the bad guys now. Because all previous his years when he was at TCU, I'm sure there was whispers like, those dudes in the SEC, they're so arrogant. They just feel like they can push everybody around. And now he's in the catbird seat with good guys. Like, oh, this is how we talk in this room? This is what we cry about? To Kirby's point, yes, we're all crying from yachts. We are the big bad SEC, and we're complaining about, I can't build my roster. It's so tough at the University of Georgia to build a roster. Oh.
Well, I get what he's saying. I don't know if I agree with what he's saying, and I do get the now crying from a yacht. Yeah, you can't get to the national championship game and then go, oh, I missed the transfer portal.
Oh, so tough.
And he's good on that. He actually makes a lot of valid points. The question I would have is the transfer portal. Do you follow what he's saying and go to one transfer portal model? And then if you do that, when do you have it?
Well, there was a lot of interesting things to what he said. Sure. One transfer model, yes, we're still trying to tether this thing to academics, which was trying to put up that farce. So if we want to keep playing that game and keep with that charade, yes, sure. After April would be a seemingly a fine time to do it. Okay, right? something's going to happen, and they're going to play by the rules, and they're going to figure out how to bend or break the rules, Kirby. You know that. So just wait till the rules are given to you and figure out a way to move around them like you always have.
We will come back. Coastal Carolina head baseball coach Kevin Schnall set to join us at 7:30. It'll be a baseball-heavy hour. We got some chop talk. The Braves have gotten some – they called up a youngster from AAA. We'll tell you about him. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank. Here we are rolling out of the month of May into June, and now some of your thought process might be about the back half of the year and what you want to do with your home. Maybe you want to refinance, see if those interest rates are fitting your needs right now and you can lower your payments. Maybe you're thinking about building a home towards the back half of the year and you need to see what kind of construction loans you can get, or maybe you just want to purchase a brand new home. Maybe you're going to be a first-time home buyer. Well, the person to call to get these answers is the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder, with First Palmetto Bank, who is locally owned and operated right here in the Midlands, which means they have quick and precise underwriting to get you the answers and to get you the loans that you need in a timely manner. You've just got to make the phone call to him today, 803-719-1005. Again, that's 803-719-1005. Contact the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder, just like I did about 5 years ago today, and find out how he can help you. 803-719-1005.
I-26 eastbound at I-77, the left lane is blocked due to an accident, so be mindful there. Stay to the right. I-26 eastbound at I-77. That forecast, we could see a potentially heavy thunderstorm this afternoon or early this evening. Today's high is 85, 84 tomorrow. Again, an afternoon thunderstorm possible that could be potentially heavy. And then on Friday, again Friday with that thunderstorm in the evening, our high will be 84. 84 on Saturday, 85 on Sunday, but the rain out of here after Friday night. Right now, though, sun, not out here yet. It's a little bit cloudy. 67 on 107.5 The Game.
7 a.m. on we'll see what kind of day it goes here in the Midlands. You heard Jen there with the weather report. Maybe some thunderstorms this afternoon, but get up and get going. I think, Preston, for some people today, the last day of the car rider line. I believe it seems to be like this is the day most, if not the final batch of schools wrapping up around here around the Midlands.
Congratulations to everybody. You made it. Congratulations to teachers, parents, lastly to students.
So welcome to the summer. Tonight we've got a little, let me ask you this. Because of the run of Ashley Chastain Woodard and the softball team, do you have just a little more interest in the Women's College World Series? Now, some people will tell you it's one of the better sporting events out there, the Women's College World Series. There's times I've kind of watched it on. But
me too. Yeah. I think it's fantastic. And congratulations to her for getting the Coach of the Year honors.
Yeah.
That was pretty huge.
Huge and fantastic. Yeah, I saw they lit up, what's the
capstone?
Capstone,
yep.
Yeah. Last night in Garnet for her. So that's awesome. But do you now kind of have a little more interest in it because you're like, that could be us next year? I want to learn a little bit more about this. Whereas, nothing against Bev Smith, but you didn't feel like we were going to get there. SEC really tough. Matter of fact, this is almost the SEC Invitational taking place out there if you look at it. But does this draw you in a little bit more to go, it looked like we're a nationally relevant program. I want to watch who's in the College World Series to see how we match up maybe for another year.
It's a very interesting point. The answer is yes. Much the same way I'm even entertaining this 5+11 conversation about the CFP format, because quite honestly, before last year, if anybody would have been talking about who's going to make the CFP in 5+11,
if it had been 4+2 just to get to 6,
I would have been like, who cares? We're not going to be in that conversation, right? Even though I'm a Gamecock through and through, but I would be like, yeah, whatever. I'm going to watch, but I don't really care. But because there's whispers that we might have an opportunity, I am more locked into this. Very similar to the way you just said softball. I would watch the Softball World Series every year because it would be on, and it's really fun to watch. But now there is a little bit more vested interest knowing that there's conversations or a distinct possibility that we were so close to being there. Not that we could be there, that we were 1 out away from being there. Yeah. 1 out away.
So, yeah, I think watching it in a different fashion this year, for sure. But I've always enjoyed that tournament.
It's a lot of fun to watch.
And, again, they'll get underway actually at noon today. And, again, I mentioned it. You think I'm crazy. The SEC Invitational, basically 8 teams left, 5 from the SEC. Texas Tech bought themselves a pitcher. They're there.
Yeah, and that's a story that, as this progresses, I really think that is a very, very interesting story in the NIL era, because Texas Tech just was like, let's go get the best player ever, give her $1 million, and let's see where this thing goes. And it's gotten them to the World Series.
So we're also talking about the 5+11 model, right?
Yes.
Okay. Because essentially what you have here is 5 SEC teams. Mm-hmm. Of course, the well-known Big Ten Blue Bloods, Oregon and UCLA, well-known.
UCLA is, but Oregon.
Well, I meant Big Ten. Yeah.
That's true.
Not Pac-12 anymore. And then you've got Texas Tech. And that's your series. And real quick, tonight, this afternoon, Florida, Texas will start the whole thing off at noon. That'll be followed by Tennessee and Oklahoma at 2:30. Texas Tech and Mississippi tonight at 7 o'clock. And then the last game, Oregon and UCLA at 9:30. That's your rundown from that. But you see what I'm saying? 5 SEC teams. Look at this here, 5 SEC teams. Well, guess what? The SEC right now wants to get 6 in the college football playoff. That would be your automatic qualifier, one of the 5. And then 5 of the 11 coming from the SEC, and that's what Greg Sankey is now pushing.
He's pushing it. Hey, listen, we got good teams. We want our teams to be in there. They made it through the play-in model. They all were part of the regional process. Or unfortunately, if things would have went right for us, one more out, it would have been 6.
That's a good point, man.
It would have been 6. So we were almost 6 away from having 6 of the 8. So yes, that's a really interesting concept. And as I stated, Texas Tech is another example of, I would say, maybe like a SMU or somebody who's just like, hey, we have money and we're going to spend it. Oh, you think $1 million is a lot to pay a softball pitcher? I think so too. But guess what? They are in the College World Series now. So this is all part of the different models that can play out.
So again, that's the the softball College World Series getting going from Oklahoma City, and again that'll get going this afternoon with Florida and Texas, and then Tennessee and Oklahoma. And we mentioned it, Texas Tech and Mississippi. So the first 3 games all feature SEC teams, with the first 2 being just at the SEC Invitational on their side of the bracket. 803-404-6100. How you can weigh in. So again, that kind of leads us back into what is becoming the dominance of the SEC. It's odd, Preston, in my opinion, as I've kind of analyzed this over the last 2 days and listened to Greg Sankey talk. Basketball got 14 teams in the NCAA basketball tournament. Baseball just got 13 teams in the NCAA tournament that gets going tomorrow. We see what softball is doing. You remember the last times the SEC played for a college football national championship?
Was it 3 years ago?
Yeah. They haven't been in the last 2. It's time to regain some dominance, and I think that's part of what Greg Sankey's trying to figure out here. Wait a minute, we're a really good conference, but Texas wasn't able to get through their portion of the college ball playoff. Georgia got eliminated by Notre Dame. Tennessee got blown out of the water up by Ohio State. Can't be having these things.
Yeah, I think that was the argument that, and I begrudgingly agree with him, that Urban Meyer was making, was that at the top levels, the conferences are pretty even at the very, very top. The issue is when you get into those mid-levels and you get into the depth of the conferences, the SEC still wins. And that's what the SEC is arguing for, why they need to have more people represented, because week to week, week in and week out, it's a tougher road to hoe for the SEC.
Jen, this is, I apologize, this is clip 9. This is Ross Dellinger yesterday talking about the 5+11 model. And he also talks about something the SEC is looking at, like, hey, do we really want to strengthen our schedule by adding a 9th conference game if you're not going to give us Indiana, we're staring at you. SMU, we're staring at you, maybe without naming you, as Greg Sankey did so conveniently on Tuesday. But this is Ross Dellinger talking about the 5+11 model and the fact that the SEC is considering staying at an 8-game SEC schedule. Here's Ross Dellinger.
We know the SEC is considering really it seems like 2 formats, Paul. This 5+11 you see there on the screen, where it's basically the same format as we have now, right? But it adds 4 at-large spots. They're also considering the 4-4-2-2-1, which we've talked about a lot on your show, that designates multiple AQs per league. But today, in response to the SEC considering the 5+11 so seriously, which I think was a little bit unexpected from Big Ten territory, the Big Ten ADs did have a meeting earlier today, had a call with Commissioner Tony Petitti, and I think most of them feel that they would not support a 5+11 format if the SEC remained at 8 conference games, because the Big Ten is at 9 conference games. So basically, the SEC, they might say the SEC gets one sort of pushover game in this. And if you're in a model 5+11 with so many at large, 11, right? Every win and loss is even more important. And the Big Ten has now for weeks, if not months, Paul, been on the 4-4-2-2-1 format. And even the SEC athletic director room, I think the majority of them was on the 4-4-2-2-1 format. But there's been some change this week. It's pretty clear that the coaches came in and they are not in favor of that. And I think they're not in favor of that for a few reasons. One, I don't think most of the coaches in the SEC don't want to play a 9th conference game. And I think when you have 4-4-2-2-1 format, that would lead itself to playing a 9th conference game. Okay. And I don't know how many coaches want to play these play-in games that they talked about doing along with the 4-4-2-2-1. So the ADs heard today from some somewhat, I heard, frustrated coaches at this model. And so we have a real serious consideration here from the SEC ADs and presidents today and then tomorrow for this 5-11 that has more at-larges than the automatic qualifiers.
The 5-11 model, that's the Preston Thorne model.
I hate to say it, I can't. I like the 4-4-2-1, whatever, the 4-4-3-2. I don't. My point on that is, again, I feel like I'm listening
Bill,
to.
it's the 4-4-2-2-1-3 model, sir. Get it right.
I feel like, again, Tony Annan's in here with us, giving us a soccer formation that he's drawn up like Ted Lasso. But anyway, you hear what he says there, and I do understand where he's going with this. in terms of having a ninth conference game, then applying that to the 4-4-2-1-3 17 model. Yeah. Anyway, but you get that. And then having an 8-game conference schedule, being allowed to select your other 4 games, or maybe doing a Big Ten showdown, an SEC Big Ten showdown, but being able to maybe soften your schedule a little bit. Because, again, right now, one thing that I'm noticing coming out of this, a little bit of Destin, the SEC is looking at Indiana and SMU like, you didn't belong last year. We had 3 that belonged. You 2 didn't belong. And the reason you got in is because you had a soft, very soft schedule. And if that's how we're going to treat this thing, fine, we'll manipulate the system to fit where next year our teams get in and not you.
Yeah, but it's a circular argument. They're just going to keep having the same conversation. The Big Ten saying, hey, we play 9 games, you should play 9 games. The SEC is saying, you play 9 games, but you suck. So your 9 games don't count the same as our 8 games. And then they say, but what do you mean? And then they're just going to keep going around. And the ACC is sitting around like, hey, what about us? You stay over there in the kitty corner. Yeah, I don't know.
What about you?
Yeah, hush your mouth over there. As what was interesting about what Ross Dellinger said is that, yes, Greg Sankey is out ahead, and you brought this up earlier. He's out ahead, pounding his chest. You want to play 9 games? We'll play 9 games. And the coaches are like, sure.
Mr. Sankey, you know, your paycheck doesn't depend on wins and losses quite like mine does. You know that, right?
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see.
803-404-6100. We'll continue talking about this, but certainly we will get into some Braves talk when we come back. It'll be time for our Chop Talk this morning. Again, this young kid the Braves have brought up.
Can't pronounce his name. Acuna?
Got to put a little slash over it. I figured out how to do that at the game on Sunday, to do that on Twitter. 803-404-6100. Chop Talk up next. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing, where for nearly 30 years, Larry Leitner and the family at Mid-State Roofing have been the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. And it's because they care about their customers. They are there for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You heard Jen give a weather report just a little while ago, and it mentioned potential heavy thunderstorms later this afternoon or this evening. Well, guess what? If you discover a leak and it's after 5 p.m., Mid-State Roofing is there to help you. Just give them a phone call, 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, someone is there to speak with you. So if you call after 5 o'clock, after hours, you'll speak with an on-call technician. But if you need to call them today for your business or your home, you'll speak with a Mid-State Roofing employee who will help you with a maintenance contract. Whatever it is, if you have a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek. Give them a phone call, 803-356-1919. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
No accidents at this time. Earlier tie-ups have been cleared, so great in that respect. Maybe some afternoon or evening thunderstorms, potentially heavy ones coming in today. 85 will be our high. And kind of the same tomorrow with a high of 84, but then the rain will be out of here for the weekend. 84 and 85 will be your temperatures Saturday and Sunday with a mix of clouds and sun both days. And we will start off your work week with sunny conditions and highs in the mid to upper 80s. Currently, still holding steady at 67 on 107.5 The Game.
Since May 26th of last season. Look at this! Are you kidding me? He is back!
That was the first at-bat back in 2025 for Ronald Acuna Jr.
I believe it was the first pitch also.
Yeah, good
first
point.
pitch, first at bat. He steps in the batter's box and was like, "Oh yeah, let me show you who I am."
It's not been good though. His return the last week when we did this, the Braves were kind of cruising along. They were at 500. They're now 25 and 28. They have dropped. Really, if you go back, they've dropped 6 of their last 8 games dating back to the mid game against Boston. They would win the series against Boston on a Sunday, but last week did not go well. Lost 3 to the Washington Nationals. Did get a win on Saturday over the Padres. The kids and I didn't bring any luck to them on Sunday. We went and visited them. By the way, Ronald Acuna Jr. in that particular game threw one from right field, Preston, that I believe was clocked coming in at about 104 miles per hour. It was in person. I don't think sometimes you can register it watching on television, but it was right there. Our seats are on the first base side and about row 8. So we got really good seats. And he grabbed one off the wall. Guy was coming around from second, going to score, and he fired it home. And if it had been just up the third base line, I think he gets him. Instead, it was a little bit more toward the first base line. And that particular day, the catcher was Drake. I'm blanking off on his last name, but he had to kind of
Drake Baldwin.
Thank you. I'm just used to saying Drake because there's only a Drake. But he had to go kind of to his right up the first base side, get it, and then spin all the way back around. And it was actually Manny Machado was coming home, and Manny Machado had an incredible slide. Like, knew exactly what Machado, by the way, on Sunday was phenomenal. But Ronald Acuna Jr. is back. The Braves right now are not back.
Yeah, and baseball's a long season, and so you're going to here's the alternative. Would you rather lose 5 or 6, 5 of the last 6, or have Ronald Acuna? I'll take Ronald Acuna in the long run. It's not working out for him right now, but the bigger problem that I keep bringing up is that regardless of what the Braves are doing, the 2 teams ahead of them, the Phillies and the Mets, they keep winning.
Yeah.
And so as the Braves, you have your ebbs and flows, but right now the Braves have fallen back. I think the last I saw was 9.5 back. And that, you start creeping towards the All-Star break, start looking at 9 games back, and you're like, okay, we're going to make a move eventually, but we have to make not 1 move, but 2 moves. You have to beat 2 teams. And so there's an uphill road for sure, but having Acuna back and having Strider back are 2 positive things.
Yeah. All right, let's start with this. The Phillies are tied with, the Detroit Tigers, by the way, lead all of Major League Baseball. I don't know why when I see the Tigers, I feel like because they have actually been good in my lifetime, but when I see the Tigers, I feel like they're always losers. So when I see them at the top, and what I just said is not true, they're not always losers. They've had some really good teams. Like
Really quickly. Let's play a game really quick. First Tiger you think of?
Alan Trammell. The baseball
Look at
card.
us.
Yeah.
Alan Trammell. What about that? Yeah. I don't know why.
Baseball card. I don't know why. There's a particular baseball card of the old Tiger Stadium, the the double-decker.
Oh, Alan Trammell. Shout out to you wherever you are, man.
But, yeah, Alan Trammell, first one I think of. But the Tigers are 37-20. But to your point, after that, you got the Phillies and the Yankees, both with 35 wins. The next team is the Mets with 34 wins. Right. And the Dodgers, the Cubs, by the way, have 35 wins. Cubs rolling along. And the Dodgers have 34 wins. So you're trying to not just catch one team that's at the top. You're trying to catch two teams that are in about the top 5 or 6.
Yeah, and that's what the uphill climb is for them. Even when you start playing into the wild card game, you start thinking about maybe not winning the pennant, but getting into the wild card conversation. One of those teams is going to fall to the wild card, and so yeah, you got
to catch one.
You're going to have to catch one of them eventually, but they seem to keep winning right now. But again, as I stated, having Acuna, having Strider back, you hope everything starts falling into play. You brought up the Drake Baldwin as the young catcher who's really provided a spark for them as a team this year. So there are some good things that are happening, but they're going to have to start putting together some more strings of wins.
We'll keep you updated on this. This will also become part of the segment. The Colorado Rockies, now 9-47, have lost 5 straight, and through 56 games are minus 175 in run differential.
Yeah, that's not great. The only benefit, and here's
hold on. Let me just add this. They're minus 175. The next closest team to them, the next closest in terms of negative run differential, the Baltimore Orioles are negative 97.
Yeah,
so it's not like it's even close right now.
I don't know if Terry's listening right now, but man, Baltimore was good just 2 years ago.
They've blown this thing,
and that's not going well for them. But here's the thing about the Rockies: when you look at how many games they've lost, it doesn't reflect in their attendance because they play in a beautiful stadium in a beautiful city, and so people are still going to the games. They're just not expecting to win.
Right. They're going in their
we're just going to the ballpark.
Other teams' gear. Other teams' gear.
Yeah.
Back to what you were saying about the Braves. Yeah, the issue. One of the issues right now is like on Sunday when we were there, Braves get up 3-1. Spencer Swallenbach was rolling. He was striking people, had 11 strikeouts, and all of a sudden gets a guy on base. Padres hit a home run. It's 3-3. He gives up another home run. It's 4-3. A reliever comes in, gives up another home run. It's 5-3, and they end up losing the game. The pitching is not right now necessarily. They weren't hitting the ball at the beginning of the year. I think it was the first or second week we did, probably the second week, and the team average was 151 at that particular point. They've at least gotten it up to 246. Austin Riley's batting 272. You're still not getting a whole lot right now from Ozzie Albies, who's batting 240, and Michael Harris, the third, is batting 223, and Matt Olson is at 234. That's kind of those three guys have got to provide you something in that lineup.
Yeah, Austin is booting the ball around a lot in the infield. So
interesting. Did you see the take from Snitker over the weekend that blamed the grounds crew?
Okay.
And so I saw our good buddy Heath Klein. I actually saw Heath on Sunday when I was in Atlanta, and Heath Klein questioned, well, doesn't the other team's third baseman play on the same field?
That's a very interesting take. I don't think that's the folks you want to make upset. You don't want to make the grounds crew upset. They can make your life very miserable. That's a very interesting take. I don't know how that works, but yes, Austin Riley struggling on the hot corner right now.
I'll mention Spencer Strider and what he's doing right now. He did not get any run support on Tuesday, lost 2-0 to the Phillies. Yesterday's game was rained out. They'll have a doubleheader today. So far on the year, Strider has 14 innings pitched, has given up 12 hits, 7 earned runs. He's given up 2 home runs, has 6 walks and 15 strikeouts right now, has an ERA of 4.50. You expect that to improve as he comes back.
Most importantly, quads are still going strong. Mustache still strong. He's still the same guy that left us.
And you're also you got a career year from Chris Sale last year. He's been good this year, 2 and 3 so far on the season. He's had 4 quality starts, but again, you're not getting the same Chris Sale you got last year, ERA of 3.36. Braves will again have a doubleheader today in Philadelphia. Last night's game postponed. So again, today they'll get going at 1:05. That game will be on the MLB Network, and then tonight 6:45 before returning home tomorrow night to take on the Red Sox. 7:15 then a 4:10 Saturday afternoon game and a 1:35 Sunday game to wrap up that series before getting the Diamondbacks in town Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then off for a San Francisco trip next weekend. So that's kind of their upcoming schedule.
Oh, you said Diamondbacks, and I immediately said I can't name one player on the Diamondbacks. That'll be a struggle. But you saw the Padres play in person, and we always talk about baseball not having star power, but they got two guys, right? Tatis and Machado.
Xander Bogaerts isn't bad either, too.
Yeah, so they got guys that's like, oh, I want to go watch these dudes in person.
And Machado was good. Machado was really good. Tatis didn't have a great game on Sunday, but Machado did some really good things. I mentioned that slide that was huge early on, and he had a couple other big hits during the game and played really well. 803-404-6100. That is our Chop Talk segment. We're going to continue talking baseball. We'll be joined by Coastal Carolina coach Kevin Schnall. They're getting set for a big regional down there. There's also a team lurking down there that gave South Carolina all kinds of issues. We'll talk about his regional this weekend and how excited he is to have one back in Conway. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for Zerorez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. I know some people have the final day of school, but a lot of people are already out, and that means your kids are probably itching to get outside and play in the dirt and the grass and to bring things in. Probably the pets, they come tracking dirt and other grime into the house, and you want to keep the house looking nice and great. So that means it's time to call Zerorez with their patented ZR water technology, scientifically proven to keep the carpets, the rugs, the tile, the upholstery all insanely clean because they do not use any sticky, soapy, harsh residues that stay on your carpet, so you can feel comfortable with the kids rolling around it, with the pets being safe with it. So call Zerorez today and line up your cleaning. 803-262-4020. Right now, mention me, Bill Gunner at 107.5 The Game, and you can get 3 rooms of carpet clean for just $119. Again, that's 803-262-4020. You can book online, ZerorezColumbia.com. Zerorez, spell it backwards or forwards, it's the right way to clean.
No accidents to report at this time. Wonderful news in that respect. And we're looking for a high today of 84 with a few possibilities of some stronger thunderstorms later this afternoon. 67 right now.
$7:34 on your Thursday morning commute. Hope you're doing well. Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen, and joined now by the head man of Coastal Carolina baseball, Kevin Schnall, fresh off a 48-11 season, hosting a regional. And Coach, congratulations. Incredible season for you.
Thanks so much. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, glad to do it. And again, 48-11 and having a regional down there. What does hosting a regional mean for you and for the program again?
Well, we're 2 of the last 3 years now. We've been fortunate enough to host a regional, and the ability to host a regional comes down to consistency. And this past 15 weeks, we've played as consistent, high-level baseball, arguably as anybody in the country. We never lost 1 week all year. 2 weeks we went 2-2. We've swept our conference weekends 6 straight weekends in a row. We've won 18 straight games at this point. Really proud as a coach to be able to reflect back and see what we've accomplished these past 15 weekends. It's as good as any team we've ever had here at Coastal, and that speaks very highly of this team because we've had a lot of success over the past 25 years, but it's a new season this weekend, and we're looking forward to the challenge.
Well, Coach, you said as good a team as you've had in these last couple years, and you say we've because you've been part of this staff forever, seems like. With that being said, this is your first year in the captain's chair, and what I want to know is what decision did you have to make this year that you let the other legend take care of before when you were previously the co-captain?
That's a great question. I'm really proud to follow the footsteps of Hall of Famer Coach Gilmore. His leadership, his vision, his relentless pursuit of excellence really laid the foundation for everything that we continue to achieve. And I was very fortunate to share a dugout with him for a long time, and I owe a lot to him. He gave myself and our staff a lot of autonomy when he was the head coach, which positioned us to be more successful this year. And his fingerprints are all over this team, and he's been missed all year, but I can assure you his legacy will continue on.
Let's go back. When you came back to coach with Coach Gilmore, I don't want to say you were the lucky charm of the group, but y'all won the College World Series. You made your first ever College World Series appearance and won it. How does the team you have this year compare back to that team, just in terms of chemistry, camaraderie, the things that y'all kind of built during that run?
Well, there's a lot of similarities in their relentlessness. There's a lot of similarities in their preparation, their professionalism. I think that this team's pitching staff, this is the best pitching staff we've ever had at Coastal. It's the best rotation. We've got 5, 6 bullpen arms that have been extremely reliable. Again, the deepest, best pitching staff we've ever had here at Coastal. The offense is different than 2016. 2016 could beat you in so many ways. We hit over 100 home runs. We stole over 100 bases. We could inside game you. There are so many things that we could do in 16 to beat you. This team doesn't slug the same way 16 did, but this team still finds a way to score runs. I mean, we've heard it all year long about, is the offense good enough? Is the offense good enough? And you look up at the end of the year, we play 30 conference games in an extremely competitive conference, and our offense led the Sun Belt Conference in runs scored. And that's the name of the game for our offense. We want to score runs, right? And we've got to have a group of guys that are obsessed with getting on base, and that's what we've had. I mean, we've got a team and a lineup that is obsessed with getting on base, and the more we can flood the bases with base runners, it increases our chances to score.
Coach, We appreciate you joining us, but oftentimes we like to drop a nerd alert sign when somebody gets very deep in the weeds on us, and you dropped a term that I'd never heard before. What is inside game us? I don't know what that means. I'm a football guy.
Inside bunt.
The bunt.
bunt.
Okay, all right, okay.
Yeah.
You dropped that one.
Short game.
Yeah, you dropped that one. You moved on quickly. And I was like, hold on a second. He's talking a new language. Okay, the inside game. I like it. I'm ready to go now.
Yep, that's short game. That's the bunt game.
Yeah.
Again, as an offense, we want to be as diverse as possible. We obviously want to hit for power, but we also want to be able to do the inside game, the bunt game. We pride ourselves on being really good on the bases. So all of those play a role on us scoring runs, and on base percentage is critical. We need to have a bunch of guys that are willing to simply get on base. And how do you get on base? And you've got to be disciplined in the box. You've got to be willing to take your walks. You've got to be willing to take hit by pitches. And when you get a group together with that same mindset, it can, allow you to score more runs.
Head baseball coach for Coastal Carolina, Kevin Schnall, joining us this morning as he prepares tomorrow to take on Fairfield in the opening game of their regional. How do you prep? How do you prep for a regional when you see three other teams? You got to focus on your first game, but I know there's got to be some level of scouting and knowledge of East Carolina and Florida, South Carolina, us up here. Very familiar with Florida because of what they did to South Carolina a couple times this year. But how do you prep for a regional like this with focus, knowing you have to win the first one, but you've also got to be ready for whoever you get in on Saturday?
Well, our staff has been working diligently ever since the selection show on Monday, and we've been, we've delegated different guys are responsible for different teams, so we're collecting as much information as we can right now on all of the teams, but the main focus is on Fairfield. Let's be honest. I mean, they won 39 games, and there's not a lot of teams in the country that can say they won 39 games. We've led the country with 48 wins. So, I mean, there are only nine wins behind us, and winning baseball games isn't easy. So they've are slightly accustomed to winning games, and they've got a feel for how to win games. They took care of business in their conference. They were 21-8 in their conference. They're very well coached. So, I mean, our focus is 100% on Fairfield. The last time we hosted a regional 2 years ago, we played a team out of the MAC Rider in their same conference, and we got upset on Friday night in front of a packed house. Ultimately, you just can't take these teams for granted. Everybody right now, this time of the year, is playing well. They've got great confidence, so you've got to play well too.
Coach, we are approximately around the same age, and I grew up playing baseball, watching baseball, but then I took a little break, and all of a sudden when I came back to watching, it was the emergence of the celly. When you see some of the cellies that are happening now, what is your first thought?
The cellies?
The celly, the celebrations.
Oh, celebrations. Man, I'm a no chrome guy. I don't pay much attention to that stuff. Our team is kind of is like that too. We don't try to celebrate out on the field. We do most of our celebrations in the dugout. We try to stress it's not about me and I, it's about we and us. So I'm not as much into the celebration, look at me stuff, but that is reality. That's the world we live in now. And listen, I'm not the fun police either. I want our guys to have a lot of fun. I want our guys to enjoy it. But there's a way to do it. There's a way to respect the game, and that's something that we pride ourselves on here at Coastal. We feel like we respect the game. We respect our opponents at a very high level. You're never going to see us stomp on the plate. For the most part, you're not going to see us disrespect the game, and that's something that we're very proud of.
Coach, on this part, we're good friends with Chance Miller, who has had the chance to join us. I believe he's going to join us next week. Now, he has implemented a policy down there for football, free concessions. So now we got to ask you, when you go to a football game this coming fall for Coastal Carolina and Coach Beck, what is the free concession that you will load up on?
Well, I'm a hot dog guy. I don't like to tell people that, but I enjoy a great hot dog. You can't beat a great hot dog. You got to be sneaky with them. But that is an awesome thing that he's doing. Listen, Chance has come in here, and he has re-energized our athletic department, him and his staff. It's not by mistake that we've broke 5 of the 10 attendance records this spring. We had a record-breaking crowd, over 5,300 this year. We expect over 6,000 every game this weekend. Springsbrook Stadium is going to be absolutely electric.
Before we let you out here, 24-3 at home, and you just mentioned that. What is the advantage in your opinion? The huge advantage, is it the crowd? Is it just being able to sleep in your own beds? Is it knowing your routine to hosting a regional?
Teal Nation. I mean, it's been a big difference. I reflect back on the series versus Marshall, who had a really good year. They came in 4th place in our conference. They had a good year. They had 3 really good starters, and we 10-run ruled them 2 out of 3 games here. We had over 4,000 people each game, and it played a big role in our success that weekend. And our players feed off the energy of the crowd, and the hope is that will continue this weekend, but we have played very well at home.
Yes, you have. 24-3 obviously speaks to that. Coach, we appreciate you taking time out. I know you're a busy guy. You got to get ready for Fairfield. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Guys, thanks for having me on.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Glad to do it. Good luck, and we're pulling for you. Coach Kevin Schnall with Coastal Carolina Baseball as they get ready to host a regional, second time in 3 years, but Coach's first time doing it as the head man. We'll come back, wrap up hour number 2. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for Dr. Dan Balknight and the Men's Clinic. Guys, as we get older, our health starts to change. It's not something you should shrug off. If you're experiencing some issues, maybe you don't have as much energy as you used to. Maybe you're not recovering after workouts. Maybe you don't have the energy when you come home to hang out with the family. These are things that isn't just as simple as aging. It might be something different. And at the Men's Clinic, they understand there's nothing generic about you. So why are you settling for general medical care? At the Men's Clinic, they are the experts in men's health, and they believe that all men deserve to live their best life, and that means achieving optimal health and wellness that requires treating each patient individually. So give them a phone call today and schedule an appointment, 803-875-MENS. You can also visit them on the web for more information, themensclinicsc.com. Again, that's themensclinicsc.com, or schedule an appointment today, 803-875-MENS. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
AT&T just sent me a heads up on the best plan for me.
That's cool.
They know what a pro wants.
What a pro needs.
Whatever makes me happy.
Sets you free?
And I'm thanking you for knowing exactly what a pro wants, what a pro needs. Whatever makes me happy sets me free.
Good. A little bit flat. It'll get better.
AT&T provides
I mean, Christina Aguilera was probably going, really? Really?
But correct me if I'm wrong on that. Like, don't they have to contact her first to get like copyright stuff? So she got paid for using her song, and so
Most likely.
they probably didn't tell her what was going to happen, and then she saw it for the first time and like just looked at her bank account and was like, all right, whatever.
Yeah, ka-ching. Because
all right, cool, I guess.
If you're not familiar, that was last year's AT&T campaign with the OKC Thunder, and it was really interesting last year because a lot of folks did not know who these people were because it never actually says who they are. You just see Chet and you see SGA and you see Jalen Williams. You're like, all right, these dudes are singing a song badly, but who are they? Yes, that is the Thunder, one of the best teams to ever play in the NBA, Bill. As of right now, the Oklahoma City Thunder are 8-1 in the playoffs. At home, they're 8-1. They have won games by 51, 43, 32, 26, 30. They have a plus 231 at home in the playoffs. They just disposed of the Minnesota Timberwolves last night. But in the regular season, they were 68-14. So that was their regular season record. And I know many of the teams we revere, the 96 Bulls, they were 72-10.
Yep.
The 16 Warriors, they were 73-9. So this team was 68-14. They're not far away from some of the teams in which we consider the greatest teams ever. And they have the MVP, SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, another guy who our guy Cal is just pumping out his chest like, see my guys.
Yeah, Kentucky fans hate that kid. They hate everybody.
You see what I do, but hey, man, OKC is here, and there's a very solid chance that they are going to the finals. And there's a chance that they might win the championship. And it's a really interesting story because after having a lot of hope and promise in the earlier aughts, I guess, with the squad that they had, where they had Westbrook and Harden, Durant, and that was fun, and that was going to be something that was
homegrown. And they had the lumberjack, Steven Adams. Yeah,
it was fun. It didn't happen. It fell apart, and now they reemerged, and it's really cool for that city, who's not a lot going on in OKC, to gather around this basketball team of sort of unassuming guys for an unassuming city. So it's really fun to watch this squad, and I will position that if they complete this thing, they will go down in the history books as one of the best teams ever.
You're right about that. I don't think I realized they were 68-14 and how close that is, because you're right. The Warriors broke the Bulls record for most wins in a season with 73, but 4 away from, because that Bulls team is just always the
that's
team
the one that's in your mind.
That's the one we're always going
72-10. It has a good ring to it.
So 68-14 though is strong. And again, if you haven't really followed them, they basically blew up the whole thing. And it started with shipping off Harden to the Rockets, and then Durant went to Golden State, and then you had Westbrook kind of getting triple doubles every night because he had nobody else. It was nobody else. I think Chris Paul made a stop in there for a minute.
He did. There's a Chris Paul tie-in. They traded Paul George to the Clippers.
Yeah, got
all those picks, and they are here. It's homegrown. It's exciting. It's fun. They are on the way to their championships.
It really is anti-NBA in terms of getting free agents to come together for a super team. These are draft picks that they all brought in, and it's worked really well. 803-404-6100. We'll come back. Hour number 3 on the way. We'll get back into some football discussion with Greg Sankey and a few other things. You're listening to The Early Game. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing, where for nearly 30 years they have been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. And it's that history, that proven history, that is your assurance that their professionals will get the job done in a safe, timely, and pleasing manner for you and your operation. Whether it's your business or your home, Mid-State Roofing is there to help you with a maintenance contract. And they're there to do that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You just need to give them a phone call. You'll speak with an on-call technician after hours, a Mid-State Roofing employee during hours. 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919 is how you can get in touch with them. You can also visit them online. MidStateRoofing.com is the website. So if you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek. They install bonded systems with a protective guarantee. They'll keep your operation, again, home or business, dry and running long into the future. So give them a phone call today and line up that maintenance contract. 803-356-1919. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
Stop traffic I-26 eastbound between Broad River Road and Lake Murray Boulevard. So basically between exits 101 and 102, traffic is kind of stopped at this point. And on I-20 eastbound, stop and go traffic between Bush River Road and I-26. And as per most days, I-26 eastbound between Piney Grove Road and St. Andrews Road also just kind of slow moving. As far as forecast goes, yep, we're going to see some afternoon thunderstorms possible, some potentially heavy. 85 will be our high today. Tomorrow, much of the same, 84, and then that clears out. It's going to be sunny on Saturday with a high of 84, 85 on Sunday. Right now, though, overcast and 66.
8 a.m. on a Thursday morning. Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen as we get you up and get you going, get you ready for the day. 94 days away from South Carolina, Virginia Tech. 94 days, which is the same number the Preston Thorne won during his time at the University of South Carolina.
Yeah, there's a very good chance if you're trying to hack any of my accounts, if you just put 94, you like at least got two of the numbers. I mean, that's just what it is, man. If you're trying to hack me, 94 is in my password somewhere, somehow. So
you need to at least be like creative and have it be like 49 or be 9 with some stuff and then a 4.
Sometimes you get too creative for yourself and then you can't remember them.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so yeah, if you're out there trying to hack Preston Thorne, 94 is in the password somewhere.
Okay.
Just letting you know.
Some personal information out there. Good luck with that.
Just letting you know.
But so how did that work out? Did you were just sitting there and they're like, here, Thorne, this jersey.
Yeah, 94. You got it. Take it. All right, cool. I have no say so over this. So yeah, and I just stuck with it.
So 94 days away from South Carolina, Virginia Tech. 93 days away from really a fun true opening weekend of college football. We'll see LSU and Clemson. We'll see if Florida State has bounced back as they get ready to take on Alabama on that opening Saturday. You have Texas and Ohio State that particular Saturday. You actually have another kind of sneaky good one. Tennessee and Syracuse will actually play at Mercedes-Benz Stadium the day before South Carolina and Virginia Tech.
Quote machine, Fran Brown. We have our eye on him. He's risen up the rankings for the early game poll. That will be interesting.
Yeah, so he's there's that 93 days away again from opening weekend. And then if you're doing the math, 86 days away from opening from week 0, where, again, the good folks of Dublin, Ireland get Kansas State and Iowa State to treat them to some actual American college football.
I will say this. As you said it does not sound like a marquee game, but both of those programs, they win 7 to 9 games every year. They're solid. They're always solid teams. Just not very exciting.
I mean, Iowa State was right there on the cusp of, I believe they play in the Big 12 championship last year? I think they did. I think they played Arizona State and ended up losing. I'd have to go back and look because I think that is, again, Big 12, as we've been talking about, we're going to get back into. Big 12 ACC, just sit in the back of the car.
What'd you say back there?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, we'll give you some popcorn. You're here for the ride, okay? We're taking you wherever we want to go, and we'll talk more about that. But yeah, there's your kind of rundown of the opening weekend of the week 0, and then week 1. By the way, there's a few other week 0 games. Stanford gets to make the trip out to Hawaii.
Okay. What conference is that? Are we even? That's just a non-con?
It's an ACC game. Well, Hawaii's not, but ACC opening weekend. Fresno State and Kansas. Does that interest you at all?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Sam Houston and Western Kentucky, and then Iowa State, Kansas State. That's your August 23rd rundown of games.
Well, the Hilltoppers tend to have cool uniforms, so I'll be looking to see what they do with their mascot, but that's about it.
Okay. Yep. So 93 days away, though, from South Carolina. Or excuse me, 94 days away from South Carolina and Virginia Tech. And we've been talking a lot of college football this morning. It's been part of our most important thing of the day. Greg Sankey speaking yesterday and now really starting to voice the 5-11, which is, Preston brought this up earlier. This is 11 because we're voicing the 5-11 college football playoff without actually having determined yet that we're going to a 16-team college football playoff. We know it's coming. And Greg Sankey is acting like this has already happened.
Yeah, because we just did 12 last year. Hey, remember, that was the first time we did this. And now it's already like, yeah, that was fun. We're onward. We're going to 16. And there's been all types of different models that have come out. The simplest one for me to understand is the 5 plus 11. 5 being the 5 automatic qualifiers. 11 being the 11 at-large bids. And so that's the way the math works out. And for us, particularly, if we would have been in this format last year, we would have made it, us being South Carolina Gamecocks.
And I do wonder, we talked about this a little bit, does it give you more hope? Do you see 16 teams and go, hey, we're more a part of college football now and having a chance to win a championship than you've ever had? I mean, granted, or do you just say, no, it's still the same, it's still going to be the same 6-8 blue bloods that are going to control this whole thing. 9 through 16 is just going to be there for fodder and television ratings.
That may be true.
I'm asking. I don't know.
That may be true. I mean, you always feel like at least we got a shot and we're in the game and anything can happen when you line up, blah, 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 any cliche you want. But it does draw people's interest a little bit more. And despite what we thought would happen, it may also bring a little bit more interest towards the late end of the season because these teams – you're not just completely eliminated once you lose a game. So there's still going to be teams that are vying, and it does bring a different perspective towards the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, that South Carolina Missouri game, and it was a loser leave town kind of game to begin with 12 teams. It would be more so again if you're at 16 with the loser technically, Missouri finished outside the top 16. The loser kind of would still have been eliminated. So there are going to be certain games that the importance revs up. There's going to be certain games where if you're inside the top 10, maybe you're not as worried about losing that game, and it doesn't have the same kind of feel to it.
Yeah, and that's where the SEC is looking at trying to get as many teams in as possible. And so they want a model where the more at-large bids go to the teams that are higher ranked, and they presume that their teams will be higher ranked.
So the spoiled child, the rotten child, the one that voices his opinion, and it does it in a manner that's usually kind of entertaining. Lane Kiffin, again, the one child who doesn't agree with the parents, is the kind of wild child. 5'11"? No, he doesn't like that. Let's listen to Lane Kiffin yesterday talking about, why don't we just take the best 16 teams and go from there? Here's Lane Kiffin yesterday at at the SEC spring meetings.
I think I would just sum it up by, after all the data and analytics, about if there were these different systems over the years, who would be left out and who would be in, whether that was a 12-team, 16 system. And it just appeared to me that there's still flaws in every system. The best system should be 16 and should be the 16 best. And I don't know exactly how that's figured out. I think that they've got to use some of the indexes and have people, I'm not saying that because I'm in here, probably media people that watch the most, that are on it and don't have any other motives in it, and figure out the best 16 teams. Because we obviously can't play enough games over that, to be 32 or 64 or something to figure out the best. But I think as you watch this year in sports, and now baseball, softball, after men's basketball, so many dominate, whether it's the final 8 or 12 or 16 with SEC teams, and their systems of figuring that out. And I think a lot of that has to do with the non-conference amount of opponents they play. Obviously, we don't have as many games, so we can't do that. Because you see, for instance, baseball, these teams that have made it this far that have SEC and conference records just a little bit over 500. So I think that would be the best way to do it. Get rid of automatics and figure out a system to get the best 16 teams in.
How do you take that?
It strikes me that we still don't know what we're talking about. We've been talking around in these circles, and he said the word 16 best, and my immediate thought was, well, what does best mean? Mm-hmm. Is that highest ranked? Are we going back to a BCS? Is it just some dudes in a conference room picking numbers, pulling them out of a paper bag? We still don't have a metric for what best means. So even if we was to go to something as simplistic as that, there's still cloudiness around. There's still going to be some level of subjectiveness that you're having. And so, yes, there is no perfect system.
Yeah, that's going to be the thing. Look, it's the same argument we have on 5 minutes after the NCAA tournament selection show. Well, who got snubbed? Who got left out? Who's team number 69? Who's team 70? Why is their resume better than team 68, 67, so forth and so on? And so it really does, to me, it doesn't matter what number you go to. You're always going to have someone who goes, no, that team was better than, we did it this year. And whether South Carolina deserved to be in or didn't, you can make the case Indiana didn't deserve to be in. Look at their strength of schedule. You can make the case SMU didn't deserve. You can say, well, Alabama or Mississippi should have been. This is what it's going to be. So when you bring this up and you mention, all right, well, who's the best teams? I don't know. You're right. Let's just put a formula in that everybody understands, and let's take human element out and just be like, Hey, what does the computer say? All right, there you go. 1 through 16. Boom, just like that.
Didn't we do this already? Like a lot of arguments sometimes, like a lot of things we forget. That
Are we pining for the days of the BCS formula now?
It feels like we do this all the time. And just in life in general, it's like, oh, I got a new idea. And then somebody's like, yeah, we did that 20 years ago. Maybe that works. I would argue that there still has to be a human element. There still has to be, because last year, if we were to take out the human element, then South Carolina would not have been considered. If we were to put more weight on the human element, people would argue that South Carolina was one of the hottest teams and the best looking teams moving forward, going towards the end of the season.
Hold on. You don't think, I mean, again, I don't know what the BCS would spit out with South Carolina last year. It would have been interesting given the losses that they had. I don't think it would have moved them ahead of Alabama and Mississippi, but I can't say that for sure. The human element, I feel like, is what kept them out. The computer element might have been like, yeah, I like this. They're good. They're in.
Yeah, but also, do we trust the computers? We do realize that the people have to make computers, and with people making computers, there's implicit bias in the things that they choose to weight. And I'm sure the SEC is going to pay, hey, yeah, that strength of schedule stat, bump that up. Bump that slider up on the strength of schedule, or whatever the thing that's going to favor them. And the SEC is obviously going to have a prominent role in deciding who is the most important teams.
803-404-6100. That's how you can weigh in. We'll come back. Jeremiah Donati spoke yesterday. Do you know what Jeremiah Donati sounds like? If we just played 2 random clips, could you pick him out? You'd have a 50-50 chance. We'll come back and let you listen, though. He spoke with Paul Feinbaum about NIL and agents. We'll let you hear that. You're listening to the early game.
Hey, this is Preston Thorne from Midlands Landscape and Lawns, and I'm talking to homeowners who are ready to say goodbye to your lawn care headaches. Do you really want to spend your weekends pulling stubborn weeds and guessing at fertilization routines? Of course you don't. And Paul Romenstein, the proud owner of Midlands Landscape and Lawn, has one question for you. Are you ready to achieve your dream lawn? Well, you can do that with the Midlands Green Treatment Program. This isn't just lawn care, it's expert fertilization that nourishes your grass and eliminates weeds for good. No more embarrassing bare spots and no more endless weed pulling. Just a beautiful, inviting outdoor space for your family to enjoy. So get a lawn that you love, guaranteed with Paul Romenstein and Midlands Landscape and Lawns, and let them handle all the hard work so you don't have to. Forget all the DIY headaches and visit hateweeds.com. That's hateweeds.com, or call them at 803-356-8080. That's 803-356-8080.
I-20 westbound at Fairfield Road. We have a report of an accident there. Slow moving coming into Columbia on I-26 eastbound. Also I-20 westbound between Two Notch Road and Fairfield Road. Slow down there as well. Not due to an accident, just kind of typical morning commute. And as far as that forecast is concerned, 85, that's what we're looking for your high today. But we could see some thunderstorms in the early evening and some potentially heavy. Tomorrow, much of the same, potentially heavy storms later in the afternoon or early evening. And again, 84 for the high. Sunny on Saturday and Sunday, 84, 85 for the highs. Right now, it is 68.
$8:18 on your Thursday morning. Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen, as we get you up and get you going, get you ready for the day. Hope you're doing well, as we have covered a lot of what Greg Sankey has said yesterday and really Tuesday as well. And I know he'll speak again today, so we've got plenty of that going on. But also yesterday, Preston Thorne, Jeremiah Donati spoke. Turns out he has a voice.
It does.
I know, and he's been on with Jay. He's been on with Jay and Elijah, and he spoke a time or two. But so far, it feels like he's getting the lay of the land. He is figuring everything out. Listen, Destin's a nice place. Maybe after John Whittle's baseball story last week, he was like, I'm going to I got to be down in Destin for meetings.
What? Did he be where? Okay, I'll be down there.
Yeah.
We don't have service out here. Sorry.
So, yeah, that is probably how things went at the Donati household and around the athletic department. But he spoke yesterday. He spoke a little bit about his background dealing with the Lee Steinberg agency and understanding agents and NIL. And Jen will play this. This is Jeremiah Donati. He was on with Paul Feinbaum yesterday. And this is him talking about his background, but the future of college sports with agents and NIL.
I realize that the big talk here in Destin is CFP format and conference scheduling, and those things, are obviously different being in one league to the next. But the issues we find ourselves in the Power 4 level are more or less the same. There's just different levels in which we're, competing and trying to find our path forward. But, really enjoyed my time here so far.
Finally, and a lot of these are involving your past, but as somebody who worked with one of the preeminent sports agents of all time at the highest level, when you now see on the other side these agents who are, and agents have a bad reputation as a general rule because they often do a lot of bad things, not people that work for legitimate firms. Is it helpful to can you see through very quickly what's going on that side?
You can, and one of the big things that I've been an advocate for or proponent thereof is having some national standard where we can do a better job regulating the agents, because candidly, when you're in the NFL, for example, you took up to 3% of players' contracts, and then marketing deals were separate, 10, 15, 20%. But what's happening now is these student athletes are being taken advantage of by agents who are not registered, they're not real agents, and their agents are charging them up to 20% just for their compensation contracts,
like television,
the rev share contracts, and so that's just taking advantage of these young people. That's not right, and so federal preemption would do a lot of things for us. But I think solving, having a national agency or agentry registry would be, or agent registry, excuse me, would be a small step, a small thing, but a big step to helping protect our student athletes.
So again, you hear him. A agent registry. I don't know how. Obviously, it would be the NCAA that would set that up and say you've got to register, much like I believe the NFL or NBA. I don't know if all of them have never taken time to sit down and pay attention and look to exactly how an agent is certified or ends up on a registry like that. And I don't know if that's for just baseball or just for football or just for basketball, or if you can combine all three. Or it'd be very interesting to know a little bit more about that. We might work with a few people that we know. But you said, look, in theory, great idea. In reality,
Yeah, there's no scenario where a group of people are going to get together and say, hey, let's make less money. Let's all get together, and for the good of these clients, let's all make less money. And not just because you put them on a national agent registry doesn't mean that they're not going to try to attempt to maximize their money and maximize their clients' money. So that is a very idealistic conversation. But even when he was just talking right now, you heard when he said, oh, well, in the NFL, marketing agents take 10, 15, or 20%. Well, that's a big difference. 10, 15, or 20%. That's a wide swath, my man. And so, yes, they're taking these idea for these marketing contracts, but here's where it comes into play. All of the college football athletes' contracts, in theory, technically, are marketing contracts because they are not being paid to play, because everything is under the umbrella of NIL. So all of it is marketing contracts. And so the agents, technically, even if we were going by what he just said, can still get that amount of money.
There's so many things. I mean, we've laughed at a lot of it right now, but we talk about the 5-11 and then the 5-11 format for college football. We've talked a little bit. We've heard Kirby Smart complain about the transfer portal and that, look, he played in the national championship for 2 years, and nobody took pity on him for not being able to be a part of the transfer portal. We've listened to Jeremiah Donati talk about. There's a lot going on, and I don't know when we untangle everything, or if we ever do truly untangle everything that is now a lot more around college football, but in the college sports world with NIL and agents and everything that's occurred.
We're just in the midst of a drastic change. We're in a sea change for amateur athletics, I will say. And what that looks like, we're moving more towards a professional model. Things are changing rapidly, and we just happen to be here at this moment. There will come a settling point. When that settling point comes as far in the future. The other thing I want to just point out also is that let's just all be very slow to just wrap all agents and those are the bad guys.
Right.
Because agents do bidding for clients, and they get people money. And last I remember, getting money is not a bad thing. So if you think about people like agents, lawyers, yeah, you need those people on your side to help you out when you have to have some of these conversations with people like the ADs or the purse holders or whoever that is. You want to have these professionals on your side.
803-404-6100. So we've heard a lot from that as it pertains to, again, NIL, college football playoff models, all very interesting. We'll come back. We will, Preston, you're making a little bit of a run here.
It's a long season.
It's a long season.
Long season.
You stepped up. We'll get into our Corley Pool Solutions Checkered Flag Challenge with Josh Harris when we return. You're listening to the early game.
Preston here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. If your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. Cracked windshield? No problem. They'll come out to your location and replace it for you, usually for free, and to work directly with the insurance to take away the headache. Come out to wherever you are. School, home, work, it does not matter. Absolute Glass will take care of it for you. Now, if you're at home and looking to increase the value of your home, you can do that with new windows and mirrors, and Absolute Glass will take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. Say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
So kind of slow going there on I-26 eastbound between exits 101 and 102. Do have an accident I-20 westbound there at Fairfield Road. Going to want to stay right in that area of I-20 westbound at Fairfield Road. And that forecast, looking for maybe some thunderstorms early this evening, maybe some potentially heavy with some heavy winds, maybe some heavy rains as well. High today overall, 85, 84 tomorrow. Very similar forecast for tomorrow. But then once we get through tomorrow night, it clears out. And for the weekend, mix of clouds and sun, mid-80s should be great. Get to 87 on Monday. We'll be in the upper 80s for next week. So we'll welcome that. Right now, 68, and the sun is trying to come out.
$8:31 on a Thursday morning as we get you going. 8:32 now, actually. I'm a minute behind, but we are always on time on Thursday for our good buddy. We'll get him in just a minute. And, Jen, there's actually something playing. There we go. We're good to go now. All right, yeah, we'll catch up with Josh Harris here in just a few minutes. And certainly, now, granted, I wasn't here Tuesday. I was dealing with something, so I don't know how much it got discussed, but we certainly need to hear from Miss Jen on how the trip was up to the Indy 500, and we'll get to her in just a minute. I know you were efforting Mr. Harris there as we will get him. Preston has made a little bit of a run in our Corley Pool Solutions Checkered Flag Challenge, getting getting all 5 points with William Byron. You were so close to being able to pull off a victory.
Yeah, we're moving up there. We're just going to try and keep it slow and steady. Y'all keep telling me it's a long season, so we're not going to panic and do anything crazy, but I feel like that was a good success for us last week.
So the big all-star race, Kyle Larson wrecking out in both of them. And certainly, again, we'll talk with Josh Harris and with Jen here in just a second.
I think that's done. Kyle Larson attempted the double, did not work. He was very discouraged. I don't know if that was going to happen again.
Well, and the fact there is a lot logistically that goes into doing the double, and the timing has to be so precise. And we ended up in Indy having a little bit of a rain delay. So that little bit of delay and then some cautions, it just made it so difficult because when I saw they had put like what his schedule was. Oh, okay. We'll call him in. He just told me to call him in on his cell. So I'll do that here in a second.
Okay.
But we did see what his schedule was, and I mean, it was just the precision of it was insane. And once we had that rain delay, you just knew that there was no way he was possibly going to make it. He was probably going to have to. If he had not had that spin, he probably would have had to have Tony Kadon finish the race for him because NASCAR had kind of put it to him like, this is your primary job.
That's the question I was asking Tyler. I was asking that idea like, hey, I know that's fun over there, but this is where your bread is buttered, right? This is what you get paid to do. And I thought that was a very different concept, how you could split his time, and I was wondering how that all worked out.
Yeah, well, again, we'll catch up with Josh Harris here in just a minute and discuss that. It was an interesting weekend, All-Star weekend, Memorial Day weekend, and you get the great races, and because you get the great races and you have Monday, typically most people have Monday off, you get a chance to really enjoy the Indy 500 and the Coca-Cola 600, and that's what took place this weekend.
And the Weenie 500.
Yes, well, that's what I said. Jen has got to give us a full breakdown here in just a second as we will catch up with her. She efforts Josh Harris now and works to get him in for our Corley Pool Solutions Checkered Flag Challenge. But, the Weenie, what was it, 500?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. And then I know Jen was very excited about the pace car and everything. So, Jen, and I know now we're joined by the one and only Mr. Josh Harris. Hope you had a fantastic Memorial Day weekend and took in a couple really great races.
Yeah, I had a chance to watch the Indy 500 and obviously the Coke 600, and watched a little bit of Monaco on Sunday morning. So it was a good day of racing all around, and enjoyed kind of our motorsports Christmas holiday where we get all the races in one day.
Jen, give us a breakdown. The whole trip, I saw some tailgating. I actually watched on, I believe it was Saturday, a little bit of carb day, some Indy practicing. I did not catch the Wienermobiles, the hot dog machines riding around. But let's recap how your trip was.
Just briefly, no, it was good. Had a chance to see some family, went out to the track on carb day for a little bit. And then, race day itself, it was good. The traffic in was great. We didn't have any problems. We heard others did. Getting out and standard, but it was good. But overall, it just was chilly, which that led to issues as far as getting heat into the tires a little bit more. So like Scott McLaughlin, before the race even started, they were on their warm-up laps, and he kind of had a rookie mistake, which he's not a rookie, very talented, but just trying to kind of heat up his tires, and you know how you kind of swerve the wheels, and I think he gunned it at the same time, just not enough heat, so it spun him around. That first lap, I always film the first lap as they go by, and we can see into turn one, and filmed Marco Andretti spinning out there, and it was an interesting race. It was very odd, but there were some really great things military appreciation wise that they do every year that I absolutely love. But it was even more cool when they had those pace laps where they had the helicopters, the Apache helicopters that were kind of leading them along. It was kind of creepy at first, not gonna lie. When I saw them come in, I was like, and then realized what they were doing. So it was a great event all the way around. And then the Coca-Cola 600, I thought the race was good. I thought Amazon Prime did a phenomenal job in the coverage. My only complaint was I couldn't get it hooked up to the TV in the hotel because, older TV and all that. So I had to watch out of a computer screen, but I guess first world problems in that respect. So what do you think, Josh? Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the 500 was a little interesting. You could tell they talked a lot about the weather. Obviously, there was a little bit of it was a rain delay, but really it was more mist and light rain. But you can't get out there, and I think that certainly had an impact to the start of that race. And ultimately, it was disappointing to see Kyle, not be able to truly make the double happen with all the miles crashing out. But I think he would have had to leave the race early anyway, just with the delayed start. So that was, I hate it for that team, just all the work and effort they put in. But it was a great race at the end. You kind of had two cars about to go a lap down out of front of the leaders, so you had to really be paying attention. But I think that ultimately helped Alex Palou make that last pass with about 15 to go, and then ultimately hold on. So that was exciting, and the Coke 600, I can't disagree. I thought Amazon Prime Video did a great job right out of the box. A lot of cool things, some faces, and folks we haven't seen on broadcast in a while or ever, and I think that was really neat. And I love the post-race show. And then the race itself was probably one of our best mile-and-a-half races of the year. So all in all, I think it was a great day.
I agree.
Now we look ahead to Nashville, and Kyle Larson is the favorite. And actually, Josh, let's go back to Kyle Larson for a minute. Your thoughts on his attempt to pull the double this past weekend that didn't end? Jen was just talking about it prior to you joining us, but just the struggles that he had trying to make that. And if this is something he will try again next year, or if NASCAR and he might say that was an excellent effort, just not something you should be doing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think NASCAR is going to step in. I mean, I think they'll let the team decide. But you could tell the disappointment in Kyle, not being able to fully complete all the laps in both races. To me, it sounds like he wants to run the Indy 500 again, because I think he wants to see if he can finish that race and put himself in position. But I know it's really tough if you get any weather. And Jim probably knows the history of this a lot more than I do. But I think this – it's not very frequent that you have these rain situations at Indy, layered on top of the fact that at some point in the last maybe 10 years, the start time of the race pushed back an hour. So that really shrinks the time in between. There's really very little margin for anything to go wrong.
Yeah, when Tony Stewart did it, the start of the race was more like noon. And now the race starts pretty much, it's, green flag around 12:50 or something like that. So yeah, once they remove that extra hour, it's just way too tight for them. And again, the race ended at around 4:20 or something. Kyle had to be on a golf cart at what was it, like 4:05 heading to the helicopter and all of that. So there was no way and had he finished the race and say he had won, okay, what do you do? Well, gotta go, like no kissing the bricks here. It's the window is just too tight. But he did say, he has said that he probably won't attempt the double again just because of kind of how the logistics and everything are. Like he said, he does plan to hopefully run it one day, just solo. But there's other people who have been talking about trying to. Kyle Busch is one who has kind of mentioned, I don't know if his time has passed. But I think there's some. Kurt Busch attempted it a few years back. So it's something people do want to be able to do. It's just now the margin for error is just so minute.
Something that will continue to be talked about if somebody can actually pull that off, win one of the races, and then go and race the other one. It's obviously probably across all sports one of the hardest things to try and do. I'd put it up there with what Dion trying to play baseball and football in the same day, or was it football and then baseball? I believe. I think it was the.
Yeah, it's craziness.
So, all right, let's make some picks here for our Corley Pool Solutions Checkered Flag Challenge. Preston's made a little bit of a run lately here. He's picked up. He's had You've had a strong 4 weeks. You've picked up 4, 4, 3, and 5. You've separated a little bit. Jen is in last place right now with 35. Preston's got 40. Josh is hanging around. He's got 47. He's quietly right there. And then Reggie and I are tied at the top with 52. So, Jen, Nashville this weekend. It'll be 7 o'clock. It'll again be on Amazon Prime, which is going to be a lot of fun. You both of y'all said you like the telecast. So what do we have here for you on your pick?
You know what? All of my picks have gotten collected in Rex for the past several weeks, so it doesn't really matter if I pick anybody who's competent or not. So I'm just going to play the odds, and I'm going to say Kyle Larson's going to go for the win because he is so irritated about how this past weekend went. I just think it's going to be, to the wall. And at this point, for me, a blind, even a blind pig finds an acorn. So maybe I'll actually get the win this time.
Those old blind pigs finding those acorns. All right, Preston, you are up next. Who do you have?
Give me Tyler Reddick.
Oh, he's been struggling a little bit lately.
Yeah,
so
I'm looking at this. I'm like, we'll see. He got to get something done.
Okay, Mr. Harris, that brings us to you here. 47 points. You're right there in striking distance here as we're about to turn into the month of June.
Well, I took my boys to this race last year, and we were in Nashville, and it was the longest ending race because they kept having overtime after overtime after overtime. So I had to go back in my memory and think who was actually doing well before all of that. And you know who it was? Denny Hamlin. So give me the 11 car.
That's no problem. I feel good. He got me 3 points last week. It could have been better. Could have been worse.
His fueler needs to know how to actually fill up his tank. He would have done better in Charlotte.
Probably help a little bit. I'm gonna go with Christopher Bell here. Christopher Bell got me jump started on a little bit of a run. I think he is due to find himself back into the winner's circle, and then that brings us to Reggie.
Yep. So it looks like Reggie will take William Byron.
William Byron. That was my other choice. I went with Bell. He goes with Byron. Got a feeling that we will be battling out at the top. All right, we are closing it out. Mr. Harris, Josh, we always appreciate you joining us and hope you have a fantastic weekend.
All right, thank you. Talk to you next week.
Yep,
appreciate it, Josh.
Much.
Take care. That is the Corley Pool Solutions Checkered Flag Challenge there, and we appreciate Corley Pool Solutions for being the official sponsor of our NASCAR Pick'em. 803-404-6200. If you got final thoughts, we will come in and close out the Thursday episode. It is the early game. Bill Gunner for AAA Heating and Air. That's right, AAA Heating and Air, your go-to name in the Midlands for any issues you may have. Now, those issues may involve you needing a brand new heating and air unit. And if that's the case, no need to worry. AAA Heating and Air has guaranteed financing, no payments or interest for 12 months, and a 15-year parts and labor warranty. That is why they are the absolute best in the business. So if you're in the market for a brand new heating and air unit, give them a phone call today, 803-677-1500. 803-677-1500. But maybe you just need a few repairs done. Well, AAA Heating and Air is ready to help you with that also. If your system is broken and you're worried about the cost, AAA Heating and Air's got you covered. With 12-month payment plans with no credit checks for all repairs, all you need is a valid bank account, and you are all set for homeowners. Give them a phone call today and line up your repair or purchase a brand new unit, 803-677-1500. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. 6:50 as we wrap things up on your Thursday morning. Thank you again to Josh Harris for joining us, our Corley Pool Solutions Checkered Flag Challenge. Jen going with Kyle Larson, the favorite this weekend. Interested to see if he bounces back. Preston going with Tyler Reddick. An interesting decision, but maybe playing some.
He can't be bad the whole year.
Okay.
He hasn't won yet, and he's due. So
No, he's had a couple tough races too, but he's not done bad at Nashville. So he has the potential. He's a good driver. Again, the whole thing with these picks that's just so maddening is you can have somebody, your driver could be leading the race, for 2/3 of the race, and then they get taken out. So
yes, I did have that happen to me a couple weeks ago.
Many weeks ago, right before you went on your run.
Yeah.
So. And I've had 4 weeks of just nothing. Hey, quick programming note: 10 o'clock this morning. Ariana Rhodey, she is the first baseman for the women's softball team, and she's going to be on with Tyler and the gang 10 o'clock today. And she's the one that just won the Gold Glove Award, which she's the first South Carolina player to win. So win one of those.
Yeah, I will not be here tomorrow. I'll be out dealing with something, but we haven't on the Gamecock whip around. Again, we should give a little bit of love there to get women's softball. Obviously, a great season. It came to an unfortunate end, but you mentioned that the Gold Glove. Also yesterday, Ashley Chastain Woodard winning Coach of the Year.
Right, we mentioned that earlier.
Well, so really, really cool for him. They had the capstone lit up last night in Garnet. So a lot of really good things for that team. And again, they get going, not they, but the women's college softball gets going, College Softball World Series gets going at noon today. And we kind of asked the question earlier if you have maybe a little more interest in it now because, listen, I know it's a year-to-year thing, but Ashley Chastain Woodard set the bar so high in year one that we kind of look around and be like, all right, hey, next year that's where we want to be.
Yeah, there's two things I want to bring up about Ariana. That the idea that, one, this is a pro for the transfer portal because if the transfer portal did not exist as it currently does, not saying she would have been stuck, but she would have played her whole career at Charlotte.
Yeah.
And that would have been cool, but she would have never had the chance to compete in the SEC. Also, the second part is she won the Gold Glove Award, which is a defensive award. But she broke the school's record for home runs this year as an offensive player. So she crushed this year. And to me, that's the benefit of these players going into the transfer portal, being able to have some upward mobility and compete at the highest levels.
Again, incredible by her. Great job by Ashley Chastain Woodard to bring her in with her. And again, Coach yesterday winning National Coach of the Year by D1 Softball. So really, really cool for them and something that, again, I wondered, I'm with you today. I'll probably catch a few minutes of the Women's College World Series to see how that goes and to just see how I think South Carolina matches up with what's supposed to be the elite. Obviously, this year, they showed that they could do it. So close to getting there, so close to being a part of it, but not quite close enough. Also, last night, the Carolina Hurricanes, they're eliminated, Preston.
Is your flag still flying?
It will come down.
Okay.
Back to my freedom flag.
Okay.
Between Memorial Day and 4th of July weekend, we will go back to that. And maybe, truthfully, since I took the Braves flag down, they've fallen apart a little bit.
Might be something to it.
Might be something to it. So we've got all that to look forward to. Also, tomorrow you will have more Greg Sankey information on one of the things that could come out. What does the SEC do? Does it stay at 8 games or 9 games?
You think he's going to reveal that today?
He said that they hope to have an answer today. And it wouldn't surprise me if I think what we've talked about this week, Tuesday, what we talked about after yesterday and after Tuesday, he's positioning, this is how we're going to run our league. This is what we are going to do. And this is what we expect you to do. We're going to do our league. Big Ten, you're not going to bully us into 9 games. We're going to stay at 8, and we're going to go to this 5-11 model. You're either on board or you're against us.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you control the purse, when you get the big dog, you get to have everybody else's say. So, again, ACC, Big 12, just sit back and take what you get.
Here's some peanut butter crackers. Enjoy the ride. You're coming along. Look forward to catching back up with y'all on Monday. Preston, Jen, a lot of fun today. Everybody have a great day.
Appreciate y'all.